I was 29, newly promoted to commercial director, and about to celebrate a $16,000 monthly salary. I thought I was sharing my victory with the two people I loved most, my husband, David, and my sister, Beatrice. I booked a table at Tirso, our favorite spot, ready for a night of triumph. Looking back, the victory was real, but the celebration was a setup. And I was the guest of honor at my own public execution. We sat down. The celebratory mood was thick in the air. I was smiling, raising a glass to my new life, my new salary. And then, Beatrice looked me dead in the eye, a strange, triumphant smirk on her face. "I'm pregnant," she said, pausing for effect, "and the father is David." The world stopped. The clinking glasses, the chatter of the restaurant, it all faded into a dull roar. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a planned ambush designed to inflict the maximum possible humiliation. My sister and my husband, sitting there, expecting me to crumble. But I didn't. Something inside me went ice cold. I calmly signaled for the check, paid my $50 share, and walked out without another word. They probably thought they had just won the jackpot. My new salary, my assets, their new future. Little did they know, their jackpot was a dud. The next day was a blur of shock and adrenaline. My first call was to my lawyer, Helena. I was steeling myself for a brutal, messy fight. A fight for my apartment, for my savings, for every single thing I had worked my entire life to build. David had contributed almost nothing financially to our marriage, but I knew the law could be a tricky beast. Helena was preparing me for the worst-case scenario. Then I remembered. Something from 4 years ago, a hazy memory. I went to the safe in our home office, my hands trembling as I spun the dial, and there it was. A sealed, 15-page document. Our prenuptial agreement. David had signed it the morning after his bachelor party, still hung over, without ever reading a single line. He just wanted to get it over with. That hungover signature was about to become his worst nightmare and my salvation. I tore open the seal and my breath caught in my throat. I called Helena back, my voice shaking, but this time with relief. "Helena," I said, "I think we just won." The agreement was ironclad, a complete separation of assets. Every single cent of my $600,000 net worth was legally protected. The $400,000 apartment I bought with my own money. The investment portfolio I'd carefully cultivated, even the stock options from the startup I helped build, all of it, was mine, and mine alone. The contract was brutally specific. He had also explicitly, in black and white, waived any and all rights to alimony, regardless of the circumstances of our divorce. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Beatrice wasn't after my man. She was after my money. David was just the key to a vault she didn't realize was made of solid steel. They had humiliated me publicly, so I decided on a public, surgical counterstrike. My phone rang constantly. It was Beatrice, then my mother, trying to mediate, to manage the fallout. I feigned calm with my sister, agreeing that we needed to talk, to have a civilized discussion for closure. I set firm boundaries with my mother, telling her that while I loved her, this was something I had to handle myself. The trap was set. I suggested we meet back at Tirso, the scene of the crime. They were so busy mentally spending my money, so high on their supposed victory, that they never suspected they were walking straight into an ambush of my own making. They thought this was a negotiation. It was a sentencing. The night of the second dinner at Tirso was surreal. They were smug, radiating confidence. David started talking before the drinks even arrived. "Look, Marina," he began, trying to sound reasonable, "we can resolve all of this amicably. 50-50 on the apartment seems fair. And of course, with your new salary, your alimony payments will certainly help us get on our feet with the baby." He smiled, as if he were being generous. Beatrice nodded along, already picturing her new life funded by my hard work. I let him finish. I let them savor their fantasy for one last moment. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, I slid the 15-page document across the table. It landed with a satisfying thud. "Complete separation of assets. David," I said, my voice as cold and hard as stone. "You get zero. You waived all rights. And here's the kicker. Based on your income, child support is calculated to be $760 a month." Beatrice's face crumpled. The smugness vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated shock. "Zero," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You calculated wrong," I told them, standing up. "You didn't just have an affair. You tried to rob me. And in doing so, you signed your own financial death sentence." I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving them with their bill and their shattered dreams. This time, I was the one who was triumphant. The divorce was finalized in 60 days. The prenup held up without a single challenge. With my assets secure and my career soaring, I became a millionaire within the year. David, on the other hand, lost his job shortly after the scandal became office gossip. He and Beatrice moved into a trailer park on the outskirts of town with their child. The last I heard, they were constantly fighting, crushed under the weight of the life they chose. I made sure my parents were taken care of, paying their bills directly, so they'd never have to ask my sister for a thing. But for the two people who betrayed me, the emergency bank of Marina was closed, permanently and indefinitely. A few months later, I got a final text message from David. It was a long, rambling confession of his stupidity, a plea for ... something. I'm not even sure what. Forgiveness. Pity I didn't read it all. I just deleted it. This whole ordeal taught me that sometimes, betrayal can be a gift. It's a painful, brutal gift, but it forces you to see who people really are. It forced me to set boundaries I never knew I needed and to finally prioritize the one person who deserved my loyalty all along, myself. They were driven by greed, and in the end, that's all they got. I got true freedom. Marina's story is a powerful lesson in protecting your worth, both financially and emotionally. Never let someone else's betrayal define your future. Thank you for watching, and if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.